I first heard of the vaquita probably around 1986. I was probably, I don't know, 12 or 11 years old or older than that. But anyways, it was from a drawing in a publication that the Center for the Studies of Desert and Oceans would put out here in Peñasco. And I think it was like every couple of months they would put out this magazine, and with news about, you know, animal life, the tides, shores, fishing, all that stuff. And it was very peculiar to me because obviously I saw this and it was the first time that I saw it, and it was a drawing. It was very well drawn. It's a very good drawing, kind of like a pointillism drawing. And I really was infatuated, I guess, with the animal and how new it was to me. And I mean, I've always loved animals. So, and being the fact that it was from this place where I was growing up, it made it more interesting to me. So, the second time that I saw something about the vaquita was in the same publication from CEDO. And this time, they wrote about a story about somebody brought in a baby vaquita or something, like, if I recall correctly. And I remember seeing the pictures of the vaquita in an ice cooler. You know, the coolers where you put your beer and your ice and all that stuff. Where it was one of those, and they put the little vaquita inside of it, and it was still alive. And it was just amazingly beautiful and innocent and hopeless. That was the face that I saw there. And even though, you know, the people from CEDO, Peggy and their staff, they probably tried their best to, you know, keep it alive, but all vaquitas cannot be outside of their environment too long. They all go into shock and die of a heart attack or heart failure. So that was the beginning of the vaquita for me. Now, at some point, I started doing all these paintings and graphics of mostly critically endangered species, but some of them were just endangered, but they had like specific problems. They were just like being poached left and right, like the rhino or the pangolin or the Sumatran tiger. And so I would focus on some of them heavily. But I mean, I've done like so many graphics and paintings of other animals, but of course the vaquita holds a special place in my heart because we are from the same hood, from the same barrio or the same area or the same locale. So that way it didn't matter where I was, if I was in Dubai or if I was in China, I would try to, you know, do a graphic or put the vaquita in a graphic that I was doing already for the publication that I worked at the time. And I tried to push that envelope hard wherever I worked. And the rest of the graphics that I did, it was just free to share, free to grab and send it as far as you can. It was for people to use. And then some of the first drawings, illustrations of the vaquita that I did on graphics, a lot of people took those and used them for themselves and into, you know, make their own graphics. And of course I didn't have a problem with that because it's the vaquita, so I can't go out and sue anybody because they're trying to save an animal. That would be kind of stupid. And besides, like my idea was to put out these graphics out there in the world and anybody could use them as long as they could give credit. and sometimes I got credit. Most of the time I did it, but it's all right. It's okay. The thing is that they worked for something that people use those illustrations and to send out a message about this beautiful creature that lives right here. So that was the graphics part of it. And throughout, when I started doing the graphics on the Vaquita, I think the first graphic that I did, supposedly there was about 300 of them in the Sea of Cortez, and it was a steady number. It didn't go up very high, it didn't go low too much. It would just kind of stay in that area for most part. But doing these graphics, and each time that I did throughout the years since I started doing them, seeing these numbers dwindle so fast, so hard, it was really, and it is very painful for me to keep doing them, because it's just a terrible thing to see them, and it's kind of like seeing it live, trying to do something, but there's nothing you can do. And no matter how much you scream and yell and fight and get in trouble with other people because of it, there's nothing you can do. It's just, it's really frustrating. It's frustrating. It's frustrating that governments don't understand the importance of every single animal in this planet. And one thing that I think should be done is that once an animal goes into the critically endangered area, the United Nations should step in, because this is a world issue. It's not only a country or a state issue or a city issue. The United Nations should step in with their army of the coalition of all those countries that are there, and protect, no matter at what cost, these animals. Doesn't matter if it's the vaquita, the lion, the gorilla, the Sumatran tiger, the orangutans, the pangolins. I mean, every single animal that's critically endangered should be protected by the United Nations or the country's army. I mean, in Mexico, part of the army is taking care of the vaquita, but they're not there 24/7. If they were 24/7, and it's a small area, you can patrol that area very quickly. If somebody stayed there 24/7, put different guards at different times, I think it would be a different story. But I mean, nobody thinks about this. I don't know why. And remember when I said like there was a number where the vaquitas, they remained at a certain number. There was no problem. It was some of them would get caught, but not that many, and all that. And nobody wants to talk about this, and nobody will ever say it or admit it. But the university in Ensenada of oceanography, they started to dump totuabas into the Gulf of California. The moment they did this, they basically put an end to the vaquita. They are the sole culprits of everything because they introduced the totoaba to the Gulf of California to the extent that they reproduce. They are very numerous, and their numbers are very, very big and strong. So somebody took a notice of like, hey, what the hell? There's all these totoaba here. Because, you know, the University of Ensenada Oceanography Department was just like dumping all these little totoabas to the ocean. And they did well, and then they reproduced, and they're in large quantities right now. Anyways, they're very quiet. They used to be very proud of their program of introducing the totoaba, blah, 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 blah. I don't know who financed that, but somebody did. But then all of a sudden, when the vaquita number started to go down, it was directly because people were getting totoaba and they were hunting the totoaba. And totoaba found out that, you know, in this area where the vaquita is, there's not that many boats that come in. So they took refuge in the area where the vaquita would be. But of course, I mean, that does not stop poachers and, you know, cartels who, you know, vaquita, the hell with the vaquita. This thing is worth more than gold. It's more profitable than cocaine, and it's less, you know, it's less bulky. You can just, like, you know, transport it everywhere you want because it doesn't make a lot of, you know, it's not a lot of bulk. Anyways, going back to this, yeah, the university, they introduced the totoaba. That was the vaquita's demise. And nobody is saying anything to them or talking about them. How would you introduce a critically endangered species and not think and not make a study that would cause? I mean, it didn't take, I mean, it wouldn't take a genius to imagine what would happen. The moment you put that fish in there, you know, people in China are going to notice, and people are going to try to get it over there. And that's it. That is what's killing, and that's what killed. And if it disappears, they are directly responsible for it. Not the drug dealers, not the poachers, not the bad fishermen, that university. The ones that created and the totoabas, and they reintroduced them. Another thing, if there are so many totoabas right now, why don't they take them off the endangered list? And that way people could, you know, fish them freely, and everybody would make, you know, the amount of money that they, you know, deserve for catching it, and the vaquita would be spared. But, you know, it just, they make it hard. You make it hard, then the cartels are in the cartel. Nobody can do anything to the cartels, so they're, you know, and their methods are not, you know, the best ones. But they have the money and the technology and the power to corrupt and buy whoever they want. But it's not their fault at the end. I mean, it's a business, and they, you know, they saw an opportunity, they took it, and it's very sad. It's very sad that this is happening. do I support the embargo of the, the fish and the shrimp that comes out of the Sea of Cortez or the Gulf of California? No, I don't. I don't support the embargo because that affects directly the families that live in this area, that are good people, that are fishermen, that work hard to earn a living. If you wanna deal with saving the vaquita, don't put an embargo. Go after the drug cartels. Those are the guys who are in charge of the totoaba trafficking. Fishermen are not. And now with more reason, once you put out, this embargo, now more people that did not think about doing this are doing it. And it just, it created a bigger problem. Yeah, so now, everybody's trying to get the totoaba bladder because they can't sell anything else. What would you do? And the silent one, the lady that's with the vaquita, it's called the silent one, is a character that I made, and she's not always as a mermaid. Most of the time she's on her 2 feet. But the silent one is the daughter of the Catrina, the Lady of Death in Mexico or in folklore, and the daughter of La Catrina, and a Nahual, which has the power in pre-Columbian era, has the power to convert himself into any animal. He's like a very high priest or shaman. And so off came of this romance, off came the silent one, which is part animal, of course, and then she's the daughter of death, so she can take away whoever she wants. Not that she doesn't at all. But at some point, the mom says, all right, I'm going to put you to work. So now your job is going to be, you're going to take away, put to sleep, the most endangered species of all animals on the planet. So I'm going to give you this bracelet, and that has little animals, and you have to go and start and and take them, put them to sleep. And I'll give you this hummingbird, and this hummingbird will be the guide of the souls of all these animals. So of course, she needs to do this. It's her job, it's her mandate, but she hates it. She cries, and that's why she's called a silent one, because she just her tears just come down on her face, and every time that she does this, it just pains her. She cries a lot, and so she starts to have a problem with the mom, La Catrina, and then she doesn't really have the father figure. He's never there, and so she's very. She's in this big battle with the sense of loss, the sense of losing something that is so beautiful and not believing that it's happening. And then she cries not only for the animal, but she cries also for the humans, because every time that she takes an animal, well, it brings humans closer to their own extinction and to her extinction, because then she and her mom won't have a job anymore. So that's the deal with the silent one. And then I've done a series of paintings with her and different animals that are critically endangered, and a lot of illustration. The plan is to do a graphic novel, and do some action figurines, so I can sell, and then give the majority of the proceeds to people who are out there trying to save the Sumatran tigers, the orangutans, the rhinos, the elephants, anybody that needs a radio or boots, being able to help those people who are in the front lines of the whole endangered species. At least that's the plan. If I can pull it off by myself, I don't know, but I mean that's my dream, making that happen. And that's the silent one. That's where she comes in. And So that's it. Basically, doing all this is to give a voice to those who don't have it, who cannot defend themselves, to not let them go without us noticing it, and not screaming out there like, this is happening, like we've been doing with the vaquita. And sometimes it feels like it falls on deaf ears, and sometimes there is some kind of movement. Now, right now, I really don't know what's happening, and it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating because right now, it seems like the Totoaba fishing is just like out of control. There's like so much happening right now, and there's I have to take my hat off and kneel to Sea Shepherd, who've been there for all these years and have not taken their stance, and that is amazing. I love those guys, and I did go on the ship for like a week, and I had to come down because I had personal problems happening at home. But it was an amazing experience. I wish I could do it again, and they're amazing people. They're really amazing people, and they're my heroes. Besides my dad. My dad is my number one hero. I hope you like this, and we'll still in the fight. We're still in the fight. Thank you.